The tubes are booting themselves up right now because we've got Democrats who are very upset, fuming mad about Trump's most recent guidance and pause. You can see they're here right now this morning ranting about this new federal grants freeze that Trump just announced last night. This presser was supposed to be about the January 6th pardons, and then they had to change everything. And now they're getting questions from the media. This is live. Let's check in on it.
As Senator Merkley described to you. And in fact, when vote came before the Budget Committee, I asked him, are you going to follow the law? He said, well, we don't believe in that law. And I said to him, well, okay, so there's a speed limit, 15 miles an hour, 25. And that you don't like that because it slows you down. Does that mean you don't have to follow that because you don't believe in it and you went out and told your neighbors you didn't?
Is he in charge of this?
The law is the law.
Is he in charge of the speed limit?
Is what we all rely on to be able to have a democracy and a consistency in this country.
You keep using
and
that word.
Is wrong. And we're going to fight him, as Senator Merkley has said, and we are going to tell our Republican colleagues we expect them to follow the law as well.
Look at that.
Can you lay out more specifically what actions you do plan to take to try to restore funding? And specifically, Mr. Ranking Member, can we talk about
Trump cut like $3 trillion, maybe more, or is it the process of doing it?
We are speaking out loudly and clearly. We're having a press conference hours after we found about this. We are making sure that everyone understands what is at stake here. We are asking our Republican colleagues to join us. They too have something at stake.
All the
in
pork.
Following the rule of law here,
all the pork.
As I just talked about.
She's saying.
And Senator
your
Merkley
programs too.
About the nomination vote for vote himself.
It's so profoundly disturbing, as Senator Murray has pointed out, to have someone stand before you and say, well, I just don't agree with what the court decided about the constitutionality of impoundments. And
what?
We're going to
you guys have done that multiple times. Biden did that all year.
How do you actually go forward if you have an executive who says, we only follow the law we want. We only fund the programs we want.
That was your whole
in the
Biden administration.
The Democrats are calling for the vote on Russell Votes nomination to be postponed until this current crisis is resolved. And we do not have the power to answer to break a quorum.
Yeah.
We do not have the power to force the chair. But I hope that the chairman of the Budget Committee, realizing how this attack on the foundations of our Constitution is unacceptable, will join us in standing together.
I'd like Senator Angus King to have a moment to speak as well.
Thank you.
All right, I'll catch us up in a minute. This is live.
A profound constitutional issue. What happened last night is the most direct assault on the authority of Congress, I believe, in the history of the United States.
Whoa!
It is blatantly unconstitutional. Article 2 does not give the executive the power to determine budgets or expenditures. That power is vested in Article 3 in the Congress. And if this stands, then Congress may as well adjourn.
That's cool.
The implications of this is the executive can pick and choose which congressional enactments they will execute. The president took an oath the other day to faithfully execute the presidency of the United States. That means to execute the laws that are passed by Congress, not edicts passed by the Office of Management and Budget.
He has a lot of discretion there in the execution of the laws. You guys gave it to him.
All sides of the aisle.
To the presidency.
Will realize that this is not a political discussion. This is not a programmatic discussion.
Yes, it is.
This is an institutional discussion.
That too.
That goes to the viability and authority and expertise and work that's based upon Article 3 of the Constitution. This is just a usurpation of authority. As I say, I believe I've never seen anything quite like this in American history. Richard Nixon tried to do it. The Congress passed a specific statute, which has been the concept, the basis of which has been upheld by the Supreme Court in Train versus New York. And to assert this power really renders the power of Congress a nullity. And as I say, I hope members of both sides of the aisle will realize this.
Very dramatic.
And stand up for the institution. James Madison said the interests of the individuals will enable them or empower them to stand up for the interests of the institution. And if this stands, this will redound to the
Don't
detriment
quote the founders
of
to
both
us.
parties, whichever party is in charge. Imagine for a moment if Joe Biden did this. There was a Republican Senate, Republican
He did.
Congress, and they passed a statute saying we want to fund Head Start. And Joe Biden said, no, I don't like Head Start. I'd rather put the money over here. We'd be hearing a lot of
He did that, and he
reaction.
crapped on the Supreme Court too.
And the reaction should come from both sides. So
Much worse than anything
as
Trump is
someone
doing.
who has worked in the law,
This is an executory
with
decision.
the Constitution for many, many years.
I'll read
I
what he
was
did in a minute.
Stunned
I got
last
the
night to
PDF.
see this order. I thought first it was a production of The Onion because
Yeah.
it's so grossly
All their pork, man. You can hear
and
all their little pet
to the
projects just getting
foundation
evaporated.
of the separation of powers under the Constitution. Thanks, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
Last question?
Senator, can you lay out some of the next steps? Senator Schumer mentioned the lawsuit. What do you see as the next steps?
Obviously, we're like 12 hours into this, and we have multiple state attorney generals as well as others who are looking at what our next steps can be in the courts. And I would say to all of the Republicans, we didn't come here to go through a bunch of court orders about current law. We came here to fight for our constituents, to make sure that they had the basic things
All the
they
grift.
need every single day, including cancer research, roads and bridges built, their communities safe, police officers on the street that are protected, and we're going to keep fighting for them.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, so that's the Democrats. So that was live. They just threw a total fit on this. This is hilarious because I had this queued up, and let's see, what did I have? As I was seated down, yeah, so here, we just saw Chris Murphy, right? He was just there. Sam Stein was ripping on him, says, these are two parties running at totally different speeds. Says Democrats, because this morning they were scheduled. It was on C-SPAN this morning. In fact, no, I already refreshed it. But it was this morning they were saying they were going to come out and condemn the J6 pardons, right? Like they had a whole thing. And they've been working through their committee process on a new attack angle to go get the Republicans and Trump. And so even though the pardons are over a week old now, they were going to come out and do a whole presser on it. And so he was ripping on him. He says, look, Senate Dems are holding a press conference today to condemn the pardoning of the J6ers. That was done a week ago. Unclear if there's a presser today to go after the OMB's power play, the Office of Management and Purse Bureaucracy, power play to take over federal grant money. So then Chris Murphy, who we just heard from, he says, well, guess what? The presser is now on the funding shutoff and the broader attack on democracy and the growing constitutional crisis. I'm on my way there now. Very dramatic. All right, Chris, got it. So they were showing up and they were responding to this document, which is just outstanding. And here's what it says. From President Trump's Executive Office of the President, Office of Management and Budget, a memo for everybody across all executive departments and agencies, signed by Matthew J. Vauth, acting director, signature here. Now, here's the subject. It's a temporary pause, okay? So you haven't lost your money yet. We're just pausing things. So calm down with the hysterics, all right? Of agency grants, loans, and other financial assistance programs. Here's what they write. All right, everybody. This is acting director speaking. The American people elected Donald J. Trump to be president of the United States and gave him a mandate to increase the impact of every federal taxpayer dollar. In fiscal year 2024, of the nearly $10 trillion the federal government spent, more than $3 trillion was federal financial assistance, such as grants and loans. Money coming in, being redistributed to their little cronies. Now, career and political appointees in the executive branch have a duty to align federal spending and action with the will of the American people as expressed through presidential priorities. Financial assistance should be dedicated to advancing administration priorities, focusing taxpayer dollars to advance a stronger and safer America, and eliminating the financial burden of inflation for citizens, unleashing American energy and manufacturing, ending, quote, wokeness and the weaponization of government, promoting efficiency in government, and making America healthy again. The use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve. This memorandum now requires federal agencies to identify and review all federal financial assistance programs as defined here. And that means a bunch of things. Any assistance that recipients or subrecipients receive or administer in various forms, but this term does not include assistance provided directly to individuals. For the purpose of this memo, federal financial assistance includes all forms of assistance listed in paragraphs 1 and 2 in the definitions of this code, and assistance received or administered by recipients or subrecipients of any type except assistance received directly by individuals. Now, nothing in this memo should be construed to impact Medicare or Social Security, all right? Those things are safe and protected. It's for the third parties and the non-governmental orgs and this charity and this one and this one and this one. For example, during the initial days of Trump's administration, President Trump signed a number of executive orders to protect and safeguard the American people and our vital taxpayer resources, including protecting the American people against an invasion, reevaluating and realigning the United States foreign aid, putting America first in international environmental agreements, unleashing American energy, ending radical and wasteful government preferences, defending women from gender ideology extremism, and enforcing the Hyde Amendment. Now, these orders ensure that the funds are used to support hardworking American families. And so, to implement these orders that we just reviewed, each agency must complete a comprehensive analysis of all of their federal financial assistance programs to identify programs, projects, and activities that may be implicated by any of the president's executive orders. In the interim, to the extent permissible under the law, federal agencies must temporarily pause all activities related to obligation or disbursement of all federal financial assistance and other relevant agency activities that may be implicated, including but not limited to financial assistance for foreign aid, non-governmental organizations, DI, woke gender ideology, and the Green New Deal. Now, this temporary pause will provide the administration time to review agency programs and determine the best uses of funding for those programs consistent with the law and the president's priorities. It's a pause to review. He's not breaking the law on anything. The temporary pause will become effective today at 5 p.m. So a bunch of DC bureaucrats are like writing checks. Bring the checkbook. Where's the checkbook? Go get it. Even before completing their comprehensive analysis, federal agencies must immediately identify any legally mandated actions or deadlines for assistance programs arising while the pause remains in effect. Federal agencies must report this information to us along with an analysis of the requirement. And we're also directing federal agencies to pause all activities associated with open NOFOs, such as conducting merit review panels. Now, no later than February 10th, just days away, agencies shall also submit to us detailed information on any programs, projects, or activities subject to this pause. And you must pause the issuance of new awards, no new money going out, the disbursement of federal funds under all open awards. So no new money's going out and current money is not being delivered. And 3 other relevant agency actions that may be implicated by the executive orders. To the extent permissible by law, follow the law until our office has reviewed and provided guidance to your agency with respect to the information submitted. Now, we may grant exceptions, allowing federal agencies to issue new awards or take other action on a case-by-case basis. To the extent required by law, federal agencies may continue taking certain administrative actions, like the closeout of federal awards pursuant to the Code of Federal Regulations here, or as otherwise expressly required by law. Now, additionally, agencies must, for each federal financial assistance program, assign responsibility and oversight to a senior political appointee to ensure this conforms with our priorities. You also must review currently pending assistance announcements to ensure that our priorities are addressed and stop making announcements that aren't. Withdraw any other announcements already published cancel awards that are in conflict with our priorities, and get to work. And you must also ensure adequate oversight of these programs when warranted to identify underperforming recipients and address these cancellations of these awards. And that is incredible. Look at that number. $3 trillion now gone on pause. You can see why the Democrats came out and had an absolute meltdown this morning. All their grift now getting obliterated